Hello YouTubers, it's Travis. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having an awesome day. So I have been asked a few times why I'm not playing Magic anymore. And it's not that I'm not playing at all, but I'm not playing much, really. I'm kind of just doing the sweatsuit these days, and every once in a while a viewer draft. And I thought if people really want the whole story, maybe it would be better for me to discuss this on stream and then clip it and put it into a YouTube video so people can go and get all of their questions answered there. If you watch this and you feel like, hey, I really wanted to ask him this and he didn't answer it, come on by the stream or leave a comment here and I'll respond to it. I do read all the YouTube comments, and generally speaking, you can get my attention on the stream and I'm happy to discuss it. But I'll kind of let the video speak for itself. We had a little question and answer session there too, but I'm going to go through all of the reasons I'm not playing much Magic right now, what it would take to bring me back, although I don't think that's incredibly likely in the short-term future. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that your questions are answered and that whatever games you're playing, you're having a great time while you're doing it. All right. Adios, my friends. All right. So the question on everybody's mind is, how are these words floating in the air? It's really weird. It's confusing and we don't like it. No, that's not what's going on. A lot of people have asked me, why are you not playing Magic? And I would like to tell you, I'm also a sorcerer. I would like to tell you, yes, YouTube is live if you'd like to say something silly so that everyone can see it, or go and watch it later. That works. This is going to go up on YouTube. You can watch it. But let's start at the beginning, and then I'll walk you up to current times. Then if you have questions, we'll do a Q&A session. But I want to explain everything. So let's start with a little bit of history, which is where I was before Arena had come out. I had been streaming Magic Online on Twitch for about 5 years. It started as a fun little hobby and something that I did in the evenings. Over time, I grew more viewers, more followers. I received Twitch partnership. I decided to go full time, and I was like just on that edge of, you've almost made it, versus you should go back into sales, but it was always so close that I kept pushing for it. I was on the brink. And prior to Arena launching, if you had gone onto Twitch and looked at Magic streams, generally speaking, you would see Kenji up top, and then I would be 1, 2, 3, 4 in that range under him. Like, that's kind of where I was. You could find me pretty easily if you just went to the Magic category. I played best of 3 drafts on Magic Online. I went infinite. I was quite good. Things were great. I was very happy. After that, Arena launches, and I kind of had this silly expectation that people who had been part of the community for longer would, like, I don't know, get some sort of boost from WotC or something. And that was incredibly naive of me. Obviously, they're going to want to get Kriparian and Brian Kibler to come and play their game and show it off. I'm already playing their game and showing it off. They don't need that. And I at that time brought a 200-person audience, but not a 5,000-person audience. So that was a bit naive and silly. But I made the transition to Arena, and for the first time in a long time, I started playing some of the constructed formats because you kind of had to. The drafting was best of one only, and it was bot draft. And I didn't particularly enjoy it. And things started going okay, even though my viewership started going down. And I initially wasn't sure what it was about. And then I recognized that what they'd done with the MPL was they'd brought in 32 Magic players, given them streaming requirements, and had contracts for them to stream during the day. So that meant all of a sudden, Alexander Hayne, Ben Stark, Huey Jensen, Sam Black, a lot of people that didn't stream are now all of a sudden doing it. So if you're coming to watch Magic and you're like, hey, there's this guy, Semulin. I don't think I've ever heard of him. And there's Ben Stark. Like, who you gonna watch? I don't blame anybody for that, right? Like, that's fine. But that hurt discovery for me. So the people that had been watching me for those 5 years continued watching me, but new people really weren't finding me. But that was okay because we had the Fandom Legends events that I was doing the casting for. And those paid pretty well. So even though viewership was going down a little bit, I was still getting paid and I was happy. Now, those eventually stopped because there was no spectator mode. Their plan was to have a tournament that anyone could enter, not just to have a tournament for streamers. And they were like, obviously they'll have a spectator mode and we can do something for that. And it never happened, and then they stopped them. So now I'm in this situation where my viewership has stagnated to an extent, but basically not growing means that as, Susie stops playing Magic and is like, I'm going to go watch people that play Legends of Runeterra or whatever now, like she leaves, but there's no one to replace her. So like not having growth somewhere like this does mean that there's still going to be people leaving. So things started shrinking a bit and I was just not having fun. I'd gotten particularly good at best of 3 draft and it just wasn't available. We got into, what was the guild set that had Demir? That one was particularly rough because the bots wouldn't draft Demir. And it was awful because you just had Demirers all day. And then we finally got to Eldraine and everything was just drafting that 1 mana merfolk that milled your opponent for 4. And it was just mill mirrors. It was terrible. And I said at that time, I'm stepping away from Magic. I don't know if I'll be gone forever, but I'm leaving because what I want isn't in the game. So when I reference Magic, what I'm actually doing is shorthanding Magic the Gathering, Sealed, and Draft. Period. The other modes of the game, I don't really enjoy and don't really care about. It doesn't mean anything to me if Standard is in a great place or Modern is terrible. I've never enjoyed Commander. Like, I want Draft and I want Sealed. Those are the 2 most important things to me. So when it became apparent that that wasn't available on Arena, I decided to step away. I streamed Tarkov for a month. I streamed Dota Underlords. I streamed Hearthstone's Battlegrounds. I had fun with some other games, and my audience shrank into not a whole lot. And I was like, okay, I probably need to go do something other than streaming, and just accept that that was sort of the end of it. At one point, I forgot to mention this, and I don't know if I should share this or not, but I'm going to. I think I've alluded to this before, but at one point, I called the community manager at WotC. I emailed them, scheduled an appointment so that we could talk. One time they reached out to me and asked me to do something, and I did it. No problem. This time I reached out to them and I got them on the phone and I told them that I was having trouble because I could no longer go infinite and limited. And it was frustrating because if I'm, not making a whole lot of money while streaming, having to spend $100 to buy gems to draft again was really difficult. And they were incredibly condescending to me and made it very clear that they didn't know what I had done in the past or really anything about me. I used to be in phone sales and have talked to a lot of people on the phone. And if I was going to talk to somebody important that I viewed as important, I would take the time to learn a little bit about their background and know who they were. And it was obvious that they had not done that. They began with, well, one thing you could do to grow your stream is have a consistent schedule. And I was like, excuse me? Have you ever considered doing a co-op stream? And I was like, yeah, I've considered doing a co-op stream. That got me incredibly frustrated. So I walked away from Magic at that point. Hey, what's up, Dave? And was like, I'm done forever. If they ever, thank you for the resub. Have you tried turning on your camera? Have you tried being more attractive? These are all things that are like incredibly helpful. It was not a productive conversation. And I walked away from it double frustrated. So at that moment, I was like, I'm done with Magic. If they ever add draft, I'll come back and check it out, but I'm out of here. And it was about to the point where it was like, okay, I'm probably going to go get a sales gig when they announced best of 3 draft coming to Arena. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll check this out. That was Michelle. She was the community manager at the time. And I was incredibly hurt by that conversation. Like, that sucked. I basically got the message loud and clear. I don't care if you're having a hard time. I don't think you're important enough to understand really anything about you. Do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter to me. That's what I walked away from. So there were a lot of people who were like really sad when she left the community manager position. And I kind of wanted to have a parade. And for reference, the person who's in the community manager position right now, Jim, is amazing. Every communication I've had with him has been fantastic. I recently had a communication with him where I said I don't want a preview card. And he was even gracious and nice about that, because I don't want to preview a card for Magic. But we're getting there. So when they announced that Best of 3 draft was actually coming to Arena, and you could draft with people, it was draft, not whatever the bot thing was. I tried it out. It was Ikoria. That happened to be a really fun set, and I had a really good time. And like, we got a bunch of gems. Yeah, Jim's great, John. Agree. He's just a good dude. So I've got nothing but love for Jim. I think some of the others just didn't know quite what they were getting into. So I don't have specific critiques for them. But anyway. Yeah, that's why we have a gym printer remote. I kept winning. I think there were a lot of people that were drafting for the first time. And that's probably why. I'm probably a pretty good 66% win rate in the blind drafter. That's what I did on Moto. And that was enough to go infinite there. After that, things got weird in the content creation area. And I kind of noticed that I was really good at a specific thing that really no one was that interested in. I don't know if this is going to make a lot of sense, but like, I was the guy who was really good at winning best of 3 drafts, but the perspective had shifted and best of 3 draft content wasn't really what people were looking for anymore. Best of 1 was seen as the de facto competitive environment where, like, I've heard it said that, some people have said, best of 3 is like taking candy from babies. If you really want to play, you've got to get ranked. And that focus on the rank and the ladder play kind of turned me off, which I know baffles a lot of people because after that, I was streaming games that had a ladder. I like the idea of a ladder. I don't like the idea of paying to play on a ladder. And I didn't like best of 1. I'm not saying it's not complex. I'm not saying it's not deep or challenging or interesting. I'm just saying it's not the way I want to play. It's not the way I'm used to playing. What people were looking for changed. So the type of content that I was providing, prior to Arena's launch, a lot of people wanted to come in and see how to win their F&M, and they could learn that from me. Whereas now they can kind of just go draft whenever they want on Arena, and what they want isn't to be able to beat their F&M, it's to be able to get Mythic ranked, and they can't get that from me. So I'm, again, kind of sitting in that stagnant channel phase. And there were some ups and some downs and some friends made along the way and some good times. But it eventually led to me starting to feel bad because I'm again seeing viewership not particularly growing. And I'm starting to feel like I'm not good at what I'm doing. Because in the past, why do people play games? There's a lot of different reasons, but the reason that I played competitive games was so that I could beat people at a game and feel the endorphin rush of I won, I did good. That's part of what I wanted. I'll do the Stream Raiders battle after we get through the entirety of this rant. Let me finish this and answer some questions because I'm almost to the end of it. I say, as I've been going for 12 minutes and probably have another 12 minutes to go. But it finally dawned on me the other day what was starting to get me is I felt incredibly insecure. Yeah, the pandemic certainly didn't help Render, for sure. And this was all when that was going on too. So I began to get frustrated, insecure, and jealous of the people who were doing the best of 1 content. And I made a run at it, but I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. And I didn't like it. And I'm like, the way I want to play the game is just not something people want anymore. And then I kind of started to feel like I was getting beat up by the game too. in Moto, when I could get a 2-1 or better, I felt like I had won because that got you enough to buy back in. And with my win rate, that meant I didn't have to pay to play on Magic Online. Then when we got to Arena, in best of 3 draft, you basically have to 3-0, which like I can do. I'm going to have some 3-0s, but it made it feel like the good records, the 2-1s, weren't wins anymore. And I might go through an entire day where all I got was 2-1s. And if I'd done that 6 years ago playing Magic Online, I'd have been like, hell yeah, we played all day and didn't have any bad records. I'm doing great. But here I was like, man, do I even want to put any of these up on my YouTube channel? Because like I didn't even get a 3-0 today. That sucks. And that little perspective shift for me just made me feel like I was bad at the game. And it also made me like just kind of depressed. I didn't like it. So it got into this big conversation of like, I just wasn't having fun playing Magic. Because somebody would come in and say something about the statistics, an ex content creator who does best of 1 says this card is really good. Why don't you like it? And instead of just sharing my opinion, I would feel like they were attacking me. And they weren't. Like, they're just out here being like, hey, I like this card. Why don't you like it? Billy likes it. Why don't you like it? And I felt like I was always in a defensive position. It's really uncomfortable. And I was not having fun. I was just worried and scared and uncomfortable. And that's when I got an email from LSV that was like, hey, do you want to check out Storybook Brawl? I know you used to play it some and we're doing a push to get some more people involved. Would you play? And I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. It was a sponsored stream. He gave me some dust to give away. And I had a lot of fun. I was able to play on a ladder. It didn't cost me anything and I had a good time. And that basically hooked me. I got the limited experience. I think it's also gotten to the point in card design, which is a whole different thing. But like we've had a lot of conversations about Magic that card design has changed over time. And it certainly has. I played the game for 20 years, probably more than that now. I'm 44 and I started playing when I was 17. So I've played Magic for a long time and it's changed a lot. And some things are better, some things are worse. But I think the focus on Modern Limited is more on the gameplay than the draft, although the draft is certainly still important, right? Yeah, there's a lot of words on the cards. That's changed. They're more complex. And I don't notice them as well, because if I'm talking to chat, I won't be able to comprehend it all. And that's fine. It still led to me having a 66 or better win percent in all the formats I played, and that used to be good enough, but on Arena it's not. Not to mention, you can never play sealed on Arena without just going horribly in debt. So people have said, is it because of the economy? Yeah, the limited economy is terrible. It always has been. Like, I didn't mind it when I was printing gems in Ikoria, but short of that, it was awful. And hearing them say that we want the constructed experience to be more like limited, I'm like, okay, they're so far disconnected, they don't even know. They have no idea that limited players are like, this sucks, except for the ones who don't think it sucks, right? Like, if I had 2,000 viewers and was making a boatload of money, I guess I wouldn't care either. I'd just dump $200 a month into gems and draft best of 1, I guess. But like, it was a weird feeling, and it's gotten me to here where I just don't want to play. I haven't had any fun playing Magic in a long time. Playing Storybook Brawl and having to make decisions quickly and then going into Arena and doing a draft. I had one in the sweatsuit. No shade against my opponent, but they were playing so slowly and I didn't have any decisions to make. Like, I drew a hand that curved out. I was going to play the hand and curve out, and that's all I could do. But I had to wait like 2 minutes between every button click. It was like, oh my God. It was uncomfortable. So that's where I'm at. I don't want to play Magic right now. We will have a question and answer session at the end, and I will open up the floor for you guys. Someone asked earlier, there were 2 questions. And then I'm going to tell you how to fix Arena and what it should have been from the beginning. And then you can ask your questions. Is this a permanent or a temporary break? I think it's a permanent break, but I thought the other one was a permanent break. And I was like, if they ever introduce actual drafting on Arena with best of 3, I'll come back and try it. And then they did. And I was like, okay, so it's a permanent break until it's not. Now, I'll tell you what I would want to change, but it's not going to happen. I have some strong opinions. Do no Magic and breaks include no sweatsuit at this point? I think I like Hunter and Spadone and the camaraderie of doing that too much, that I'm going to continue doing the sweatsuits. That's at least my plan. But if it gets to the point where that's not fun, I won't do that either. All breaks are permanent until they're not. So I think it's a permanent break, but I don't know. Give me just a minute, Samsa. And then remind me of that. I don't want to write down any more questions. I want to answer this one, and then I want to tell you what I think Arena should have been. And then we'll open up the floor for more questions. Somebody said, what would bring me back? If Arena shifted a lot. Let me tell you what I think they should have done. And I've said this before, so some of you may have heard this before, but I think they did an incredibly poor job of positioning Arena from a marketing perspective. My background is in sales and marketing. If I can travel back in time to where they're first developing Arena, the biggest thing I want to say to them is you would need, their perspective going in is obviously we want to get the Hearthstone players. That's what they want. They want to get people who are playing Hearthstone to come try Arena. Magic's, from their perspective, and honestly from mine, Magic's a better game. If they try it, they'll like it, and we'll grab them, and now they'll play our game. And like, that's why Best of One, which only existed in Magic Online about a year before Arena. Prior to that, it wasn't there as something that you could play routinely. You could jump through some hoops to play a Best of One game with a friend, but it wasn't available as like something you could just go do. That's why it appeared there about a year in advance of Arena's launch. So I think trying to appeal to the Hearthstone crowd is why Best of One was there in the beginning. And when they did the Mythic Invitational, it was a Hearthstone format tournament where you brought something like 3 Best of One decks and like no sideboards. So it was very much set up so that someone who's played Hearthstone and watched competitive Hearthstone could watch this tournament and see this gameplay and say, I understand what that is, let's do it. And I think that was a colossal mistake. Because I think the message that they sent to the Hearthstone players was this game's a lot like Hearthstone, but more complicated or just different in a way we're not going to bother to explain. I didn't see any reason after seeing the marketing that came out. I've played some Hearthstone. I understand Hearthstone. I even kind of like Hearthstone as a concept. I don't play it a lot, but it's a cool game. If I'm a Hearthstone player and I see all of that, I don't hear anything that makes me want to switch. I'm like, oh, cool. Somebody made another game like Hearthstone, but I've already got my Hearthstone collection. And, you know, I play that a couple hours on the weekends, and that's fine. I'll just keep doing that. There was no like call to action, no reason to make the jump. And a lot of people didn't. We saw some Hearthstone streamers come over and play Magic for a while. And I think a lot of them actually liked Magic better. But for the most part, they've kind of disappeared and stream Hearthstone again. And I think that was a huge marketing error. Because if I'm the one in charge of it, I'm doing it very differently. I'm not adding Best of One. I'm going to take that break point of Magic is more complicated and try to make that a benefit, a selling point. That's the reason you should switch, right? So if I'm doing that marketing, and obviously this isn't perfect, I could work something out, but my pitch would be, you need to try this over Hearthstone because it's a deeper, more complex game. And I think there's a mistaken belief that there's more RNG in Hearthstone than Magic, but they could take advantage of that. They could have set it up as in Hearthstone. They couldn't have said in Hearthstone. They could have said in some collectible card games, RNG decides who wins the matches. In Magic the Gathering Arena, your decisions and your gameplay decide who wins. Is it more complicated? Yes. And that makes the wins that much more satisfactory. That makes the wins much more satisfying. Yeah, satisfying. That's what we'll put in the copy. Like, imagine I've had, a month to prepare this. Like, they could sell it as, this is just better than Hearthstone. Like, position it as, Hearthstone is a dumb game for babies. Real competitive, digital card gamers play MTG Arena. And that's what you do, because that's the reason someone would move from Hearthstone to this. They're like, oh, that's for like hardcore people. This is a bigger deal. At least that's what I think. Maybe making it best of one and more casual has made them more money. I don't know. But that's what I think they could have done if they wanted it to actually be an esport. Is like positioned it as, yeah, this is more complicated than Hearthstone. And I don't think that necessarily makes Magic a better game. A lot of people do, though. And if they'd leaned into that, I think that would have led to a program that I would have liked a lot more. So that's everything about why I left. What would make me come back is if, I suppose, they eliminate best of one and do something like sealed tournaments. I don't know. I can't think of what would make me come back. The floor is now open for your questions. I'll try to answer them. Yeah, that's a much better way to say it, John. Arena does what Hearthstone don't. Samsa said, would MTGO drafting an Arena change your mind? I don't know what that means. A prize structure like MTGO? How about increasing the prize payout for 2-1 records? I mean, if ranked draft is still there, that means I could just get rid of the frustration of having to pay for drafts while still drafting and not growing my viewership. So no, I don't think that would be enough to bring me back. Lurking, just wanting to say that whatever you play, I appreciate your stream. I learned things about life and the United States in addition to the game you play. Thank you very much, Stars. I appreciate that. Monthly subscription model to do best of 3 ranking. Change that to best of 3 sealed, and I think we can talk, Goose. I like sealed a lot better than draft. When I went back and played Moto for an afternoon, I had a lot of fun playing sealed. And then everything froze up because it's got a massive memory leak. And apparently you have to delete your cards with a shredder bot to get rid of the memory leak. So no surprise I didn't go back to Magic Online after that. But yeah, it was the cost and the fact that I didn't feel like the stream could grow anymore in Magic. Is it really the marketing approach that was flawed, or was it there was little marketing in general? How many Pro Tour set championships go by where no one even knows that they happen? Well, I mean, initially, their marketing push was all over the place. They had the MPL, they had the Mythic Invitational, they had Sir Mix-a-Lot saying the world will know. I think they did enough marketing, but I think what they were marketing was a more different Hearthstone. Like, the people who played Magic were going to try Arena anyway. You didn't need to sell them. You needed to get the Hearthstone people to come try it. And saying, we've got Hearthstone, but different, is just not a pitch that they care about, because that's been done 500 times already. Like, if you were playing Hearthstone and didn't know what Magic was already, you probably weren't going to check this out. So after that, yeah, I think they did a terrible job with the MPL. And they managed, like, I used to watch Magic coverage for GPs. And I watched, Rashad Miller used to do highlights from the Magic Online Championships, and I watched all of them. I was excited about it because it included limited, which is what I wanted to see. But like, they just got it to where it was all, people that they'd picked playing for stakes I didn't understand, and limited wasn't a part of it. And I was like, okay, cool, have fun with that. So I kind of tuned out with what competitive Magic looked like then. And competitive Magic kind of just disappeared. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Rashad, but like, I thought he was great for coverage. I liked him a lot. Any other questions, or is that it? I just babbled for a little bit and we've answered some things. I think that's good, Dave. And yeah, COVID's probably had a huge impact on this. Like, Again, I think a lot of my viewership was people that wanted to be able to not embarrass themselves at F&M. And it's finally getting to the point where people can gather together again. That's good. Yeah, I expect there will be GPs again. But I just gotten to the point where I'm not super interested in paper magic either, honestly. I never particularly was. Digital just seems better to me. That's pretty cool, Boros. All right, ask your questions in the next few minutes or we're going to get out of here. Would you be surprised if Magic leaned heavily into NFTs? I don't care. I have no thoughts on that. I mean, unless you want to admit that they already have and that printing secret layers is basically that. It's just garbage collectibles that don't serve any purpose that people speculate on and trade. But that probably hits way too close to home for a lot of people. I get you got a wonderful angle deck, and sometimes I come back to do some harm to Sparky with it, but I don't. I get you. I got a wonderful angel deck, and sometimes I come back and mess with Sparky. Yeah. I suspect for the next little bit, the only thing I'll be doing on Arena is the sweatsuits. And when the new set comes out, I may even opt out of those until they start doing chaos drafts again. We'll see, and we'll see how the stream grows with Storybook Brawl. And it may be that people don't want to watch me play Storybook Brawl, and maybe that means I can find an audience doing something else, or that I panic and go back to Magic and am clearly not having fun, or that I have a massive attitude adjustment and am having fun, or I do something else and stream as a hobby in the evenings. Like, again, a lot's going to change in about 4 weeks. So I'll make some decisions after that. But that's why I'm not playing Magic right now. Now you know. I'll put this on YouTube. We can exclamation point Magic it when people ask, and I'll be like, I've got a short 30-minute answer for you. Walk hard into a wall, or run, Manny. Run, Manny, run right into that wall. And as always, a big thank you to my patrons. Thank you, Paul, Punk, Hero, Joe, Jesse, Jacob, Scott, Fasty, Rich, Brandon, Jazzy, and Craig. Y'all are awesome.